Hey everybody, it's Promise, and for this project I researched full versus half-day kindergarten. So let's talk about what kinds of kids go to full versus half-day, what the outcomes are, and why we need it. All right, so kindergarten first started as a really child-led free play experience in 1837. It was designed for kids that were 3 to 7 years old, and it was kind of thought that kids would just show up and play and they would get everything they needed from that. And in later years, research suggested that the free play model was really underestimating the capabilities of students, so at that time, rigorous teacher-led academics were introduced into the typical program. This stemmed from the belief that because more and more children were attending daycare and pre-K programs outside the home, kindergarten was no longer a child's first school experience, and academically they should be ready to go into more sophisticated learning than was previously thought appropriate. Now, we know that some things cannot just be intuitively learned, like reading. You can't just pick up a book and learn to read by osmosis. Some things you can learn to do through free play and inquiry is a very important part of learning, but it's not appropriate for everything. So currently, most kindergarten classrooms lie somewhere in between, with play often being used as a means for learning. All right, so kindergarten, as Friedrich Froebel knew it, is really a relic of the past. Some people think, oh, kindergarten, that's so cute. You just play and take naps and eat snacks all day, right? Like, I've even had other teachers ask me that. And this view is really quickly squashed when people realize that kindergartners today are learning to write narrative and informational and nonfiction books independently. They're adding and subtracting within 10, counting to 100 by tens and ones, identifying main topic and key details of stories, and even way more. Those are just a couple of examples of what we teach in kindergarten today. So on top of this, on top of the academic demands, there's really a very high social demand for kindergarten students, where they're learning to interact with peers for the first time, they're solving problems, they're learning what emotional signals look like and feel like, and they're separating from their parents for the first time. So with teacher support, they're learning to act as their own advocate and their own regulator of their emotions. And this can be pretty taxing when you think about all of this together. All right, so when we look at enrollment statistics of full-day kindergarten, we notice that there's a really high prevalence of Black children enrolling in full-day programs. There's more English-speaking families that enroll in full-day kindergarten versus half-day, and there's a very significant amount of families under the poverty line that are enrolling in full-day programs. So it's been shown that areas with high rates of at-risk children in general are more likely to offer full-day programs, and really it's been shown that they're kind of targeted to areas with more prevalence of poverty and at-risk kids as a means of catching them before they fall. And so when we think about Dr. Downey's guide to working with at-risk kids, full-day programs really just make a lot of sense because they offer the children the opportunity to bond with their teacher more through increased time together, and this helps foster positive relationships and that sense of security that we know is really, really important to achievement. Full-day programs also generally have smaller class sizes, so teachers can connect more with students individually and further create those strong bonds, and they also have more time to establish and further relationships with their peers. So kids in full-day programs don't have to wonder who they might end up with during the portion of the day that they're not at school. And in turn, this really provides a sense of security to families who are working so that they know that their child has a place to be while they're working that's safe and that they don't have to worry about paying for. And this in turn creates a more healthy living environment for kids and for parents at home, and hopefully when they are more supported in these areas, they're more able to spend time teaching and connecting with their kids. All right, so let's talk about why full-day programs are needed. Well, since the 1960s, there's been a really growing number of mothers in the workforce, and so because of this, the demand for full-day kindergarten is also on the rise. So full-day programs are most often found also in communities with high rates of poverty, minority students, and non-English speaking families. to help support those students in their early learning years, because they might be coming in less academically advantaged than their peers from higher socioeconomic backgrounds and English-speaking backgrounds in some cases. And when we're talking specifically about ESL students or English language learner students, I work in a district that has 55 different languages represented. And so I found it's really important to expose ELL students to as many rich language experiences as possible. So this allows them to listen to an increased amount of English and also to create connections between their home language and English. And when you think about just the mental load of trying to learn a new language, that's a lot. But then when you think about also trying to make academic gains within that new language, that's a lot. That can be really challenging. So full day programs just give ESL and ELL students higher access to English exposure. So offering full day programs for kids living in economically disadvantaged homes is important because parents don't have to worry about where their kids will be during the day or if they'll be safe where they are. And this allows moms in particular to experience increased ability to work. A 2006 study of the longitudinal effects of full day versus half day programs showed that mothers of children in full day programs were able to work anywhere from 6 to 24% more than those in a half day program. So when you think about the economic impact of moms being able to work more, and then you think also about the historic results of studies that have shown that children from poorer families fare worse on academics, it's just so much better to offer full day programs for these kids so that parents can work more and feel more supported and be economically more advantaged, and then those kids in turn just benefit from that as well. So not everybody loves the idea of full day kindergarten. Part of it is because the academics of kindergarten today have really come to mirror that of long ago first grade, with robust essential standards being taught to our youngest learners. So in recent years, the push for kindergarten to become full day has become a lot more widespread from the half day experience long ago. And part of that, the people that critique it worry that academics are being pushed down before kids are ready, and this could lead to burnout both mentally and emotionally and make kids less excited about school. It's hard to get everything in a half day. There's a lot of necessary learning, like I talked about earlier, and some people argue that what we're trying to get them to learn might just be too much, while others feel like they're ready for it. Another thing that's been argued is that having that full day program might cause students to miss out on really important things at home with their parents, bonding and learning experiences at home. But I think because of this, teachers just have to use their best judgment to design rigorous and relevant learning activities that are appropriate for kindergarten, that are communicated to their parents so their parents can extend and appreciate the learning at home and help their kids process what they're learning. We know that parent involvement is one of the most statistically significant indicators of a child's success. So while we have to couple these really rigorous demands with parent communication and involvement to create the best learning experience for our kids. And all of this together in a full day program, we can use that extra time to differentiate and honor the needs and diverse experiences of our students when we know them better. So many studies have shown academic gains for full day attendees. A 2006 study by Lee and colleagues found really significant differences in achievement for full day programs, with an effect size of 0.93 for literacy and 0.75 in math when it controlled for initial achievement, social, and academic differences. And we know that when we're talking about those effect sizes, 0.80 is considered significant. So we have pretty high achievement differences in literacy and math for full day programs. And all of these things pictured here were also found to be higher for full versus half day kindergartners. And it's been reflected in several studies over the last 30 years, from Fusaro in 1997, Huff and Bride in 1996, Chang and Singh in 2008, Elliker and Mather in 1997. There's been so many studies that have shown gains for full day programs over half days for kids in those programs. So it's been found to be pretty important and very impactful to be at school all day versus half day. But it should be said that not all, you might be thinking, oh, they're in school twice the time, they're getting twice the academics, and that's really not true. Part of having that full day experience is integrating more small group activities, centers, peer-to-peer interactions, and specialist classes like art and music and literacy, and those just really contribute to making a more well-rounded academic experience for our kids. So teachers also benefit from full-day attendance with smaller class sizes, so they have more time to build relationships with kids. More topics can be covered throughout the day, like I just said, and there's more time to assess kids. With the smaller class sizes that come with a full day attendance, there's also more opportunities to connect with parents, and because parent involvement is so important, that's really one of the most important reasons to have full day attendance, so that they have there's more opportunities for parents and teachers to create strong bonds together. In a full day program, there's more time for extra literacy activities like learning letters, doing vocabulary, reading stories, and journal writing, and those really were found to influence academics in a positive way in a full day program. In math too, there's more time to use manipulatives and music and movement, and those are all just really, really good ways to get kids to learn stuff. So in speaking about literacy particularly, I have that statistic there for literacy achievement at the top, and then all of these areas as well were found to be greater in terms of achievement for full day attendees, and all of those, especially letter sounds, blending, and rhyming, those are really, really important cornerstone aspects of being able to read and write, which are super, super important for success in academics and success in life. So full day programs also give kids more opportunities to develop socially and more time to do imaginative play and engage in partner activities, and it's been found that peer-to-peer interactions are really powerful for engagement versus whole group interactions, and having those one-on-one interactions, it's way easier to do that in a full day versus half day program just because there's more time. And additionally, there's emotional benefits of full day programs. There's more emotional well-being, a lot less anxiety, and a lower chance of being retained. And retention itself really has been shown to be negative for kids, with not a lot of academic gains being shown for kids that are retained, and kind of a social anxiety aspect for kids that are retained, because their peers know that they have not moved on with them, and they also know that they haven't moved on, and it does affect them emotionally when they are retained. Long-term effects of full-day kindergarten have been studied. A lot of them say, or they have found, that the benefits even out by the end of third grade, but I think we also need to think about the privilege that half-day kindergarten attendance really is, because if you are able to give your kid a half-day experience, there might be other circumstances surrounding that where you have a higher socioeconomic status, you have a different kind of family life, you have more involved parents than those in a full-day program. So more research is needed to show if it's really the social aspect that's having that higher achievement, or the petered out long-term effects, or if it's the school design that's doing that. So in conclusion, it's really important to have full-day kindergarten to reach at-risk students, to support families and kids, and to influence literacy and math scores, even if it's just for short-term gains. And long-term gains really just still need to be researched to show the full effects, and control for bias, and control and have more participants to show the full picture. All right, thank you.